Morning and welcome to Around the World with Dane Waters. I'm your host, Dane Waters. I'm actually here in Auckland, New Zealand, literally on the other side of the world. I tell you, when you look at a map and you see New Zealand, you think it's just this kind of a small country. But let me tell you, from the top to the bottom, it takes you almost 20 hours to drive. But it's a stunningly beautiful country. The reason that I am here is just to discuss with certain people, what is the impact of the growing crisis around the world. New Zealand, just like almost every single country in the world, is facing difficulties. They're facing internal strife. They're facing the indigenous population called the Maoris, how to deal with them and the rights of the Maori people. And it just goes hand in hand with what you see around the world with a lot of controversy. I mean, once again, as I said, I can't think of a single country in the world where there's not either some internal or external issues that are impacting it economically, politically, socially. And so what does that mean about the world? That means that, I don't know, is it because we don't have the right leaders around the world? Or is it that we have the right leaders, but they just don't have the right support from others to support what's going on? It's just a lot of uncertainty. So we're going to be talking about that when we have our guest from Dr. Hadi Mourad. Hadi is a political expert from Lebanon. And the reason we talk about Lebanon in relation to New Zealand, listen, we're a global community. We're all tied together. One conflict here impacts a conflict there, and the conflict there impacts the conflict here. As part of the reason I'm here is, talking about the conflict, but everyone talks about what's happening in Lebanon. Everyone talks about what's happening in the Middle East. Everyone talks about the U.S. presidential election. Everyone is asking, what happens next? Because we're part of a global community. And finding peace in one part of the world can help peace in another part of the world, just like controversy and war in one part of the world impacts even as remote as New Zealand is. So anyway, let's take a quick break, and we'll get back with Dr. Hadi Mourad, and we'll talk about Lebanon and how to find peace in Lebanon, which also will be part of finding peace around the world. We'll be joined here shortly by Dr. Hadi Mourad to talk about what's going on in Lebanon and how to bring peace. But real quick, before we get to Hadi, I'm going to talk about the United States because, listen, we have a lot of going on there with the transition between the current administration, the Biden presidency, and the incoming Trump presidency. I mean, one thing you just noticed, I'm sure the world, maybe you didn't, is that President Biden has allowed for the long-range use of U.S. weapons into Russian territory. Now, that people say, is that a game changer? Who knows if it's a game changer? But, now that Russia is looking to try to actually kick the Ukrainians out of the Kursk region, many people argue that this will be beneficial to that effort. But once again, in less than 60 days, Donald Trump is going to be taking over the presidency. And what's going to happen? Is he going to rescind that order, or is he going to do more to ensure that Ukraine can win? There's a lot of uncertainty. If you look at his cabinet picks, there's just really, honestly, a lot of uncertainty about what's going to happen. He could surprise the world. He could not only be the guy who rids the world of authoritarianism, he could save the world. He could be one of the greatest presidents we've ever had in the history of the world. Or it could turn out that he allows Russia to, quote unquote, win. People qualify winning as allowing for territorial integrity to be taken away from Ukraine. There's just, once again, a lot of uncertainty that we have to deal with. But also, you look at his cabinet pick, I think almost every single cabinet pick has an issue with China, So a lot of people think that Russia is the issue, but then there's a lot of people who think that China is the number one issue, that if you deal with China, that will impact the Ukrainian war because you could possibly limit China's influence and support for Ukraine. Now, the reason that's an issue, to be honest with you, is think about it. One of the reasons Russia is surviving in the conflict now is because China is able to provide them so much support. Now, I think China, they're smart. Maybe they'll cut a deal. They'll say, listen, United States, Trump, if you lessen your support for Russia, then we won't be as hard on you. And I think that will impact the world. So it all ties together. We have to figure out how all that fits together. But first, we're going to talk about Lebanon and the Middle East. And I see that we have Dr. Hadi Mourad with us. Can you hear me, Hadi? How are you, sir?
Yes. Hello,
Hey,
Dane.
haven't seen.
Long
Good
time.
to see you, man. Well,
Thank
just
you.
so my audience understands here, so the famous Dr. Hadi Mourad is one of the best tennis players in all of Lebanon. Okay, so when I was there and I was a younger man, a much younger man, we would play tennis together, and he kicked my butt every single time. So anyway, you look as healthy as ever there, Hadi. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank
so
you.
let so let's talk. Lebanon, Hezbollah, Israel, ceasefire. Tell me, in your opinion, where do things stand currently in Lebanon with the conflict, and do you see an opening for it to be resolved in a ceasefire anytime soon?
Hello, Dane, and thank you for the interview. And this is a very great show that you always look forward. First of all, as for the Lebanese situation, right now, we have been like 55 days in the middle of the war, which Hezbollah has actually opened on the second day of Tufan al-Aqsa on October 8, 2023. And now we are like a bit of 2 months from the beginning of the war, which happened on 23 September. What's happening right now is negotiations between the Israeli and the Lebanese party or the Hezbollah party, mainly represented by Nabih Berri, who is the head of the parliament of Lebanon. So both parties are trying to negotiate on the way of how to apply the 1701, which is a UN resolution which states that both parties should not have war between them, and Hezbollah missiles should be on the north of the Litani River, and many actually articles inside this UN resolution. However, we are all waiting in Lebanon for the visit of Amos Hochstein from the States. And apparently, yesterday, there were many news saying that Hochstein will not be arriving soon to Lebanon. And then all of a sudden, we have a strike hitting the center of Beirut in Z'al-Blat, which is 400 meters away from the parliament and 100 meters away from the government Sarai. So things were escalating up yesterday. There were lots of actually ups and downs during the negotiations. And now, today morning in Lebanon, Hochstein arrived to the Lebanese airport. So there might be some positivity in a way or another regarding his visit to Lebanon. However, we are all living in Lebanon inside a dilemma, in a catastrophe. We have more than 1,200,000 refugees and displaced people. Some cities and some villages in Lebanon are now burned out because of the hits and the strikes, like the south, the Biqa region, Baalbek, which you visited with me once 3 years ago. Actually, even the touristic places and the castle of Baalbek, the castle of Sur, of Tir, all of these cities and places have been hit very harshly. So right now, Lebanese people really need the solution after all what's happening or what happened to them. We have an economic crisis. We have like more than $10 billion loss inside the economy of Lebanon. And Lebanon right now is a bit separated and distracted from the Arab world. Like, who is going to rebuild this beautiful country? Because in 2006, after the war of July, we have many Arab countries and Western countries have helped in rebuilding the cities and all the homes and destructed houses. Right now, we are a bit skeptic and anxious about the second phase after the war. Who is going to help this country? Right now, Hezbollah has to know that the state is the solution. The state is the solution for all those actually misconducts that he initiated in this war. And we need this army and these missiles to be under the Lebanese army forces, because this is the only solution that all Lebanese citizens believe in this phase and in the next phase.
Well, listen, let's talk. Yeah, I mean, by the way, you're Shia, correct? Just
Yes.
but you're not a member of Hezbollah. You're, of course. I mean, it's first of all a technical question. This peace deal or this ceasefire, whatever you want to call it, it won't be between Israel and Lebanon. It's between Israel and Hezbollah, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So, so how does so where does the Lebanese government fit into this? I mean, is Hezbollah? It's interesting when you think about a ceasefire where Hezbollah will sign the ceasefire and talk about the implementation of the UN Resolution 1701. I mean, is the Lebanese government? Do you think there's an opportunity here that the Lebanese government is trying now to rid itself of Hezbollah, or even if there's a ceasefire, will Hezbollah still continue to have an unusual amount of control over the government there?
Look, Dane, in Lebanon, it's a bit confusing, the situation, the political situation. Like Hezbollah, is has army and missiles. However, also Hezbollah is part of the government. Like for example, now Najib Mikati, who is the prime minister of Lebanon, is the prime minister in a government which contains like 60 or 70% of the ministers belong to the not to the party of the Hezbollah, but to the coalition of Hezbollah and the Free Patriotic Movement and Harakat Amal. So mainly that we are being governed actually by a government which takes the decisions and these things from the Hezbollah party itself. Now, Nabih Berri, who is also an allied, party with Hezbollah, is trying to make the separation between the Hezbollah decision and the government and the governmental decision, as if the government is the supreme leader, which Hezbollah belongs to. So the way that Nabih Berri is trying to do so is just to tell the international communities that we can order Hezbollah to stop the fire. We can order Hezbollah to not to take Lebanon into war and not to take the decision of war and peace by only this party. However, Hezbollah is being represented inside this government. Hezbollah has members of inside the parliament. He has 27 or has actually 15 members inside the parliament, which contains 128 members. So this is the dilemma that makes us all confused and hesitant in the way the Hezbollah play this role inside the country. I believe that this war made all the coalition around Hezbollah to think twice before going into any risky decisions. And now Hezbollah is being is negotiating on the application of the 1701. 1 year ago, 1701 was, according to Hezbollah, a betrayal decision, and everyone who calls for the 1701, is a spy and is a betrayer and whatsoever. Now Hezbollah himself is asking to apply the 1701. So this means that in the battle there was losses and gains, and apparently the one who is losing is trying to escalate down the stairs to get things solved. And this is what Hezbollah is trying to do right now. And we Lebanese people all right now are asking for the 1701. However, the Israeli side is asking for more and more. Maybe is asking for a free movement of the Israeli army on the borders. Israel also is asking for the destruction of the ballistic rockets of Hezbollah. So things are going up from the Israeli side, however, down from the Lebanese side.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, yeah, it is. Well, listen, I've traveled the world, worked around the world, and I tell you, Lebanon is one of the most complicated political countries in the world. I mean, where the confessions between the Shias and the Sunnis and the Christians, and how it all puts together. So, so where does Iran fit into this, and what is Iran's? Some people talk around the world that Iran is going to stop supporting Hezbollah, and which is one of the reasons that Hezbollah is interested in the ceasefire so they can regroup. But where is Iran fitting into this whole negotiation?
I believe in an important thing. After the assassination of the Hezbollah leaders, Said Hassan Nasrallah, we all believed in Lebanon that Iran actually tried to move its hand from the actually supreme leadership of Hezbollah, because Hassan Nasrallah was an icon to the Hezbollah party and was an icon to a major part of the Shia community in Lebanon. He was an important figure to them, like Bashir al-Shmail for the Christians, like Rafiq Hariri for the Sunnis. We were talking about the sects and the communities in Lebanon. So I believe Iran is trying to change its position, or trying to reposition itself amid the new Middle East that is being drawn for all the territory. And now Iran, I think Iran doesn't want to escalate more, and maybe the new decision is to move Hezbollah from the army sector to the political sector. That's why you don't see now Iranian are moving forward or moving upward in the negotiations. Like Larijani, who is the assistant of the Iranian president, came to Lebanon many times. Also, the minister of Abbas Araqji and many influential figures in the Iranian politics have been visiting us since 60 days actually, and all of them are trying to say that we want, for example, Lebanon to live in peace. However, Iran is not letting Lebanon to live in peace. Because I believe Iran is trying to give implied messages to Hezbollah. So in the media, Iran is telling that we want peace and we want the ceasefire. However, Iran also is giving direct orders to Hezbollah army to continue in the escalation, and this means it's like doing a double agent thing. So in the implied message, Iran tried to do something, and externally doing the inverse. That's why I believe now Iran, after also Trump's win in the elections, Iran is thinking twice about the situation in Lebanon and the Middle East. Also, you can see in Iraq what's happening right now, because the Sayyid Sistani asked all the Iranian militias in Iraq to have the army only unified under the Iraqi army, official army. This means that there is a drastic change in the in the Middle East, and Iran is aware of what's happening and trying to we say in Arabic, fall down from the tree to let things go easier and smooth.
Listen, I don't know why you're not at Wimbledon. You should win Wimbledon one day. That's what I expect you to do. So, and once you win Wimbledon, I'm sure that you'll fix all these issues around the world. So there's two things you're bringing up. There are two things you're bringing up just before the break. One is what's happening with Iran, but let me talk about Trump. Do you think that the Trump presidency will be good or bad for Lebanon and in solving this conflict?
Look, I believe the deep state or the deep, government inside the U.S. Has mainly the same goals and the same objectives, the same actually external objectives, mainly in the region, in the Middle East and also Europe and the Arab countries. However, I always believe that Trump is a bit more aggressive, is a bit more straightforward, is a bit more direct to the point towards these objectives, not like the Democrats, like what happened with Obama in the nuclear negotiations with Iran, not like with Biden and the policies of the Democrat Party in states. So that's why I believe also from the 4 years from 2016 till 2020, when Trump was actually in the presidency, and if you want to extrapolate this phase to this phase right now, in those 4 years, there was no war inside the for example, in the Arab world or in the Western countries between Russia and Ukraine. It was peaceful in Lebanon, in Israel, in Iraq, etc. So Trump really wants the peace across the world. However, the means that Trump uses is always different, is always exotic. We don't know what's actually moving inside the White House and the new presidency with the new staff, with the new ideas that can come up to the minds of the governing people. I believe that Iran has to go further beyond what they were expecting with the Democrats, and maybe also in Lebanon we will have a total change, a drastic change, because Biden's policies were a bit smoother and easier on the Hezbollah role inside the country and across the Arab world. Trump has more aggressive policies like sanctions, like no war at all, like maybe assassinations. Qasem Soleimani was assassinated during Trump's presidency, and it was a huge assassination in that time. It was a specific message telling that Trump doesn't want and doesn't support any missiles outside the government and the states. That's why I believe it's going to be a total turning point, mainly in the Middle Eastern policies after 20 January 2025.
Let's talk about this real quick. Sadly we only have like 4 or 5 minutes left here, but we have the two we have Iran, which is Shia, we have Saudi Arabia, which is Sunni, basically. Those are the two big players in the region. You have the United States, where Trump has always been anti-Iran and more pro Saudi Arabia. Where does Saudi Arabia fit into this? And can they help make a difference with defeating Hezbollah and reining in Iran's influence in the region?
Saudi Arabia right now is being mainly the denominator, as we say in math, for all those countries. And for example, Saudi Arabia was the only country which held a conference joining more than 140 countries to give a solution to this dilemma in the Middle East, by saying that we want the two states and we want the rights of the Palestinians across the region before going into the negotiation between Israel and Saudi Arabia to have or to have a diplomatic role between them. So I believe that Saudi Arabia right now is the mainstream which is talking to all the parties. Saudi Arabia has good relations with the United States and has good relations with the Iranian, because they were doing also common battles across the Red Sea and the Arab Gulf. So Saudi Arabia is trying to be closer from all the parties across the world, because the goal and the objective of the Saudi Arabia is to plant also peace in this region. Saudi Arabia is not thinking at all of wars and dilemmas and all of these things. Like, for example, they are doing lots of great festivals that we have never been able to see it in the Arab world. They are actually going for the World Cup 2034. So mainly Saudi Arabia doesn't want anything which will make things bad in the road to the peace. And I believe Saudi Arabia has a great role, and this is what we are seeing right now across the negotiations. And even in Lebanon, the Shia party, which used to mainly have bad relations with Saudi Arabia, right now believe that Shia are all belong to the Arab sector, to the Arab world, and the KSA is the main leader for the Arab world right now, and we should also follow this mainstream in order to preserve the peace and the prosperity in Lebanon, and follow what's happening right now in Saudi Arabia from the prosperity and and those exciting things happening there.
Well, as a Shia, I mean, so you'd be welcoming and comfortable with Saudi Arabia taking a more active role in Lebanon, or and even within the Shia community, right?
Look, I don't want any country to be interfering inside my country. However, with the if a country like Saudi Arabia is trying, between quotations, to incubate the societies of Lebanon, we would be more than welcoming, because it's an Arab country that we belong to. We belong by our culture to the Arab world. So, of course, as a Shiite, I would be happy to be having good relations with Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia is the country which built Lebanon in all the wars, or after the wars, like after the civilian wars in 1989, we had the Taif Accord, and then we had the rebuilding actually and construction from Saudi Arabia, and after 2006, also Saudi Arabia was the main helper and support for Lebanese country. So of course I would be more than welcome to have Saudi Arabia again helping us.
Well, listen, it's a region that listen. I think what personally, I'm a big believer in strong leadership, and I think that somebody like you, just for my own personal thought, is that you're the kind of person that Lebanon needs, to govern and to fix this mess, because Lebanon is one of the most amazing countries in the world. I loved living there, and I miss it. I miss it terribly, and I promise to be back soon to see all of you. So. Well, I appreciate that. Listen, you have just a few seconds left. If you could give any message you want to the rest of the world, what would you say?
I would like to thank you, first of all, for this important interview, Dane. Secondly, I would like to tell the world that, Lebanon right now is living in the worst situation ever. And I want to tell you something, that Hezbollah does not represent the whole Lebanese people, and does not represent the whole Shia inside Lebanon. Hezbollah has, for example, a good percentage from the Shia people inside Lebanon. However, we have lots of moderate people inside Lebanon who really want Lebanon to be a sovereign country. Nobody acts on behalf of Lebanese citizens, and that's why we need to help and support those people inside Lebanon in order to make Lebanon again the beautiful mirror of the world, for the peace and for the prosperity and for the tourism. And we should be back to the map of the world, because Lebanon before was called the Switzerland of the East, and we would love Lebanon to be like this, not in a closed term and closed situation. Nobody is talking to us from the Western and the Arab countries. We really need Lebanon to be back to this important place, and to be in the front stage as before. And this is what I would like to add. And many thanks to Around the World with Dane Waters. It's really very, very influencing on the whole situation, and letting the people across the world know the beauty of the countries that are always hidden and not known by many people.
Well, I appreciate that plug. You have a great voice. I may have to get you on the show to say it every week. But anyway, thanks, Hadi, for being on the show today. And my prayers go out to you and your family, and good luck with everything there. Thank you for joining Dane Waters and Around the World with Dane Waters. We'll be back next Tuesday with more what's happening around the world. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.